You may be wondering how I'm able to pull off something like this.
Nice. Really good ability. Maggie.
Yeah, honestly, it surprised me too. In this video, I want to talk about how an average player can find success in Apex. When we think about the biggest pain points that come from this game, they're usually things like dying too much, losing those fights that you know you should win, not knowing enough about all of the game mechanics, not being able to hear that one guy that walks up on you, and of course, not having enough loot. Now, I have over 10,000 hours in this game, and in this video, I want to discuss with you 5 components that you must understand if you want to see success as an average player. Let's begin. Number 1, don't try to do too much solo. What I mean by this is, yes, you're gonna have to take 1v1s and learn to win them. But there's a difference between handling one enemy while your team is in a 3-on-3 and running off way too far ahead of your teammates, forcing an engagement only to wind up losing it and compromise your whole match. And you don't have to run that far up ahead. Like, don't think so grandiose. You could be 20 feet ahead while 2 guys teamfire you and it's GG for you. When you go for 1v1s though, you want to look for the low risk ones, at least to begin. Let's say you're in a 3-on-3. Your team knocks 2 enemies, there's only 1 person left. That remaining player would then have to kill all 3 of you guys in order to win the fight. If you want to take that 1v1, you really should go for it. Still be smart about playing it, but this is definitely low risk if your teammate is at least somewhat close to you, because they could play off the damage if you wind up losing it, and they could also prevent you from getting thirsted if you lost it. This example is a great opportunity to test your skills and be more aggressive than you may otherwise not usually be. However, while you're traversing the map and you see a player alone, don't always assume that their teammates aren't close to them. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to players in coaching sessions who will say, well, I go to push this one guy that I got low and his teammate shoots me in the side or in the back and I just had no way of knowing they were there. There is 2 ways to get better at this. First is learn to quickly take in information. You must be doing this at all times throughout a match. And second is pay attention to where the fight is breaking out. Look, if you catch a player running alone into a building, and you were able to see him come in on the other side of it as you approach from a different side, you may assume that you have, let's say, a 5-second window where you could 1v1 that player before his teammates may react or get to that building. But in a different situation, if you see a player in a more wide open point of interest, and that enemy could be isolated, but because there is no structure blocking all of the different lines of sight, their teammates who aren't necessarily with them can still affect the fight because they do have line of sight. This is why paying attention to where fights are ensuing is so important. It's the one thing that your favorite Apex player does intuitively that most average players just overlook. They forget where they are on the map, or the things they've learned from fighting there in the past, or from dying in those spots because, wow, I didn't know that guy had such a good angle from that vantage point. These things are crucial to take in as you begin to play more and as you begin to take more fights. Number 2, experiment at a reasonable pace. Look, there's a meta for a reason, and that meta can change every season. Understand what it is and decide for yourself how you want to go about using it. If you feel like going against the grain and using off-meta weapons or legends, that's cool. Just understand you might not be doing yourself or your teammates too many favors. The beauty of Apex, though, is that all of the legends have their own use cases. None of them are just flat out useless, and depending on what mode you're playing and how your team likes to play, the difference in meta may not be highlighted as much. I'll give you an example. Horizon's good in just about any game mode right now, but a legend like Newcastle might be more applicable if you have teammates that you are familiar with and you're fulfilling that supportive role on your team. You'll know their tendencies much more as that support character, and you'll be there for them. If you're looking for a safe bet, well then I would suggest playing close to the meta. Remember, if you're an average player, you need all the edge you can get. The legends bring a unique aspect to the gameplay. Some are certainly more fun and practical than others, but ultimately this will be a preference of who you resonate with and what playstyle fits not only your own playstyle, but your team's playstyle. Of course, each legend is broken up into a different class, but each legend within that class can be more nuanced than just the class that they're defined in. The way your team plays is almost just as important when it comes to what legend you will see the most success with. If I play Watson with a bunch of randoms, they might want to just W key everything. And Watson, always out in the open on a map like Broken Moon, isn't really the best recipe for success. However, if I play Wattson with 2 friends and we want to be more strategic about the places we want to take fights in, specifically somewhere that's a structure or a place that I could block off specific entry or exit points with her fences, then I'll probably see more success with that Legends kit. This makes enough sense, right? But you got to consider these things when you're playing this game. Number 3, understand that Apex is a resource management game along with being a first-person shooter. Things like heals, ammo, abilities, survival items, etc. All of these things play a crucial role throughout your match. The biggest ones I tend to focus on are ammo, heals, and abilities. Healing is something that a lot of players struggle with, usually with the balancing of doing it throughout a fight. You not only need to learn the timings of the heals and when to use them, but also where is a potentially safe place to heal. I know a lot of y'all are probably thinking, yeah, duh man, I always heal, I know this stuff. But I've seen far too many videos of players who miss time healing and cannot accurately gauge where to heal throughout a fight. When the fight's over and you won, you definitely want to be armor swapping whenever possible. Now in regards to ammo, you always want to be playing to the strengths of your loadout and what you have in your inventory. If you only have a small amount of ammo, you can't afford a prolonged fight. The same principle applies when you only have close range weapons and your enemies are sniping you from 100+ meters away. Your job in that situation is to figure out a way to close the gap to them while not taking too much damage or just leaving the fight altogether. You've heard that saying, pick your battles. Well, this is what I mean. When it comes down to abilities, the biggest tip I have is really less about when you should use yours and just be prepared for when you see whatever legend you're dealing with, understand their capabilities. Know your enemy, know his sword, that type of vibe. When you're going against a caustic, understand his potential or whatever legend you're dealing with. This will take you farther and help you out in much better ways than just trying to figure out what you need to do within a fight. And this is a good segue into number 4. This game requires a lot of mental acuity, meaning it deserves your whole focus. If you're distracted while trying to play Apex, you will miss out on so many indicators that would have helped you gauge your next plausible move. It's basically chess with weapons, and other players are trying to figure out ways to beat you too. At times, this game's incredibly unpredictable, and that's why players need to remain flexible throughout a match. Things will change rapidly, and if you miss which direction things have shifted to, you're going to get outplayed. And even when another player is more mechanically skilled than you, if you are just more focused on what's going on than they are, you can figure out a way to beat them. Trust me. Now, I hate playing this game when I'm distracted because I know I'm not giving it what I need to be in order to have some fun. Because to me, having fun in this game is just winning more than I'm losing. Now, lastly, number 5. The best advice I think I could give you is find one person to play with. Someone who's similarly skilled to you and who can play the game often when you like to play. Listen, playing Apex solo is especially difficult when you're average. And even playing Apex solo if you're really skilled is extremely frustrating and just flat out hard. It's not a solo game, it's a team-based game. And it's generally easier to find one person to play with rather than 2 people. You can either play duos with them or just duo queue ranked if you want to, but having another player on your team who knows what tendencies you have and what you guys want to do game in and game out will take you much further than rolling the dice and solo queuing every match. I'm sure a lot of you guys watch your favorite content creator pop off while solo queuing, and they make it look easier than it is. There's often 20 bad games or more before they may get that one good game. And no matter how you slice it, Apex is that team-based game. Do I wish there was a solo queue option or game mode? Absolutely. But there really isn't. And you can try to improve solo, and I know that many of you do, and you have, but it's very, very difficult. Not to mention, the matchmaking is not going to do you too many favors when it comes to the skill level of your teammates or the skill level of your opposition. There's a lot that goes into matchmaking, especially when you factor in 60 players, time of day, server location, and prioritizing a fair but quick match. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. And if you're interested in the best and worst legends, well, I covered them all in this video right here. Peace.